or family responsibilities prevent you from voting on Election Day, Joe Biden wins. Pennsylvania.
Thank you, Chair Murray. Senator Kennedy.
Mr. Secretary, I don't hate anybody. I look for grace wherever I can find it. And I certainly don't hate you. My chairman talked about the woolly mammoths in the room, and I'm glad he brought that up. The chairman's immigration bill was negotiated by two members of my party, Senator Langford and Senator McConnell, and I don't speak for either one. They're both good men. The chairman said that the Republicans who negotiated his bill trusted you and wanted you there. And I'm not doubting his word. It gives me no joy to say this, but most Republicans don't trust you. And a vast majority of the American people don't trust you. That's why you've been impeached. Now, my Democratic colleagues are going to try to sweep your impeachment under the rug and violate 200 years of Senate precedent in doing it. I don't think that they will be able to sweep the issue, maybe your impeachment, but not the issue, under a rug as big as the United States of America. Again, it gives me no joy in saying this. I think well more than a majority of the American people think that as a result of your behavior and President Biden's behavior, our southern border is an open, bleeding wound. I think they believe that our southern border is chaotic. I think a vast majority of the American people believe that a lot of it is political. I think a vast majority of the American people believe that it is chaotic by design, and that all of this is intentional. And I think while a vast majority of the American people who don't trust you believe in legal immigration, they don't believe in illegal immigration. And they think you do. And they think President Biden does. And they think that's why the border is open. And they think that your attitude and President Biden's attitude is that while they may be poorer under President Biden, that they're stupid enough to believe you and the president when you say that it's not your problem. I think that needed to be said. Isn't it a fact, Mr. Secretary, that the number of illegal immigrants that you and the president allow into our country counts for congressional district reapportionment?
Senator, I'm not sure I understand your question, but I can surely share with you that I disagree with its phrasing.
Isn't it true, Mr. Secretary, that the number of illegal immigrants that you and President Biden have allowed into our country counts for allocating electoral votes?
Same answer.
Okay. You don't know?
I don't understand your question.
Never crossed your mind?
The notion, Senator, that we intend to allow illegal immigration is nothing short of preposterous.
So you do understand my question?
And if I may, it is disrespectful to the extraordinarily hard work that we perform and far more importantly, that the personnel in the Department of Homeland Security and across this administration perform to stem illegal immigration, build lawful, safe, and orderly pathways, and invest in a working system. And we only wish that bipartisan legislation, about which I have not heard a critical term.
Mr. President, Mr. Secretary, you're using up my time. You do this every single time. You do this every single time. And it's a fact, and you know it, and I know it, that the more people you allow into our country illegally, the more people are counted for reapportionment. And the more people that you allow into our country illegally, the more people are counted for allocating electoral votes. Now, maybe that's a coincidence, but that's a fact. And you know that. And you've done nothing for 4 years. Nada. Zero.
Absolutely.
Zilch. And in fact, the only people I know in this country who are better off today than they were 4 years ago are illegal immigrants. And that's as a result of your policy. I don't hate you for it. I don't hate anyone, but that's why you've been impeached. And my colleagues may try to cover it up. They're going to try to cover it up. But they can't cover up facts. I've gone over my time. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Peters.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Secretary Mayorkas. It's wonderful to see you here today, and I'm going to see you again next week when you come before my committee, the Homeland and Governmental Affairs Committee, and it's good to have an opportunity to ask your...
Dave McCormick.
I was born and raised here in Pennsylvania.
Dave McCormick. Fight and...
Madam President, I'd like to talk for a few moments about, and then I'm going to have a motion about the impeachment of Secretary Mayorkas. As you know, Madam President, our government is one of laws, not people. Laws, not people. And as you also know, Madam President, the United States Senate is built on precedent and custom and history and the law, not political expedience. We in the Senate are supposed to listen to the American people, not ignore them. And one of the ways we do that, Madam President, is by playing by the rules that we have all agreed to. All of the rules. All of the time. Now, my Senate Democratic colleagues today, or at least very shortly, however, may be willing to jeopardize centuries of this stability, the stability that this body has brought and lives by, for short-term political advantage. We all know what's going on here. We all know exactly what's going on here. For the very first time in our nation's history, my Senate Democratic colleagues are seeking to table, maybe even dismiss, an impeachment by the United States House of Representatives of a sitting cabinet official without holding a full trial. If my Senate colleagues do that, they will be summoning spirits that they won't be able to control. Let me say it again, Madam President. The United States House of Representatives. We're not talking here about some snowbro who lives off chicken McNuggets and weed and happens to have an opinion. The United States House of Representatives, elected by all of the American people, spent months investigating our border policy and Secretary Mayorkas's role in it. And then they thoughtfully crafted and they passed with a majority vote 2 articles of impeachment. And now my Senate Democratic colleagues want to toss them out in the trash like a week-old tuna salad sandwich without hearing from either side. In the more than 2 centuries that this body has existed, we have never once tabled an impeachment. Not once. The Senate has never dismissed impeachment articles under these circumstances either. Neither tabled nor dismissed. If the Senate dismisses these charges without a full trial, it will be the first time in the Senate's long history that it has dismissed impeachment charges against an official it has jurisdiction over without the official first resigning, and that's just a fact of history. The Senate has the responsibility to hold this trial, and everybody in this body knows it. Yet, my Senate Democratic colleagues seem willing to forfeit our constitutional authority in order to bury the evidence of how bad the border crisis is. Now, I, for one, want to hear the House's evidence.
This incredible story has gone viral in the United States. This chiropractor from upstate New York has become...
And Senate Republicans are offering our colleagues across the aisle, all of whom I respect, by the way, a menu of options for how to hear that evidence and listen to Secretary Mayorkas's defense without eroding democratic institutions. If Democrats set a new precedent by making an impeachment trial impossible, as I'm afraid they're going to try to do, they will be silencing the voices of the Americans who elected them, and they will have to own the decisions that they will be making and bear the consequences tomorrow. And tomorrow may come sooner than they can imagine. Apparently, my Democratic colleagues are really leaning in on their double standards. Whenever protecting democracy, have you heard that expression? Or upholding, quote, the rule of law. Have you heard my Democratic colleagues talk about the rule of law? I have. I agree with them. Whenever they use those expressions, but it becomes politically challenging, they seem happy to ignore the rule of law and the will of the people. And their political expedience is in full view today. I regret to say that. We'll see what my Democratic colleagues do with respect to my resolution and Senator Lee's resolution. Senate Democrats, I'm afraid, are silencing the American people who want their country's secure border back. And the truth is that the American people are tired of the drug trafficking, they're tired of the human trafficking, they're tired of the sexual abuse of women and children, they're tired of the widespread illnesses, they're tired of the debt, they're tired of the behavior of President Biden and Secretary Mayorkas with respect to the border. They're tired of the chaos. They believe it's chaotic by design, and they believe it is undermining their national security. And they're right. Now, the American people may be